On December 25, 2021, the European rocket Ariane 5 ascended into the sky from a spaceport in French Guiana. Aboard the spacecraft was the most expensive telescope ever created by humanity. After several delays, James Webb finally embarked on his journey into space. At that time, no one could have foreseen what would transpire just a few months later. James Webb's mission captivated, astonished, and debunked all existing theories about the origin and nature of the cosmos as fundamentally flawed. What does this development signify for the future of human scientific exploration? Let's delve into it right now. Webb became a hindrance long before the most expensive telescope of all time even detached from Earth. Technical issues led to a rise in construction costs, and the U.S. Senate was on the verge of halting the project. However, the decision no longer depended on Americans or NASA. From the very beginning, the new space telescope was a joint project of NASA, the European Space Agency, ESA, and the Canadian Space Agency, CSA, and together, these nations shouldered all the necessary additional expenses. On December 25, 2021, the telescope ascended into the air aboard the Ariane carrier rocket from the European spaceport in French Guiana. The powerful Ariane 5 and Guiana were chosen because the rocket's quality and the location of the launch site near the equator were simply too ideal for swiftly and easily delivering a several-ton object to the second Lagrange point, L2, more than 1 billion kilometers from Earth. SpaceX offered its rocket, but Elon Musk couldn't compete with it using his heavy Falcon Heavy rockets. ESA, as part of the collaborative effort, provided the launch vehicle and all accompanying services. In return, they will receive about 15% of the new telescope's observation time. Pulling 13,800 to 13,900 kilonewtons, it lifted off at 12:20 p.m. local time. 3 minutes after liftoff, the rocket jettisoned its first fairing. 10 minutes later, James Webb was under the power of only its acceleration and the SCA. After one more phase of acceleration away from the rocket, the telescope separated completely. Hovering in low Earth orbit, James Webb slowly unfurled its solar sails. To give the telescope the necessary aerodynamics and protect it during launch, engineers designed all of its components, mirrors, and power source to fold up during liftoff. By the time the upper stage and SCA engines shut down, the telescope had reached a speed of 9.9 kilometers per second. Once separated from the rocket, James Webb was already slowing down and ready to deploy its solar panels. After activating its power source, NASA conducted the initial course correction. Full deployment was completed on January 8, 2022. Currently, the telescope orbits at a speed of 727 kilometers per hour in a halo orbit around the outer Lagrange point L2 at an altitude of about 1.5 million kilometers above the night side of Earth. For comparison, the Hubble Space Telescope orbits Earth at a speed of only 547 kilometers per hour. The location of James Webb was intentionally chosen deep in space to reduce atmospheric interference and the absorption of certain wavelengths of light due to its proximity to Earth. Thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope, it should become possible to peer even deeper, further into the universe and observe what occurred shortly after the Big Bang. Researchers hope to find clues about the formation and evolution of galaxies, stars, and planetary systems. Additionally, among the mission's other objectives were observations of dark matter and the detection and analysis of exoplanets. Even one of the first images released in the summer of 2022 was shocking. Since then, the hypothesis of the Big Bang has been refuted. Instead of finding fewer and fewer galaxies as it looked further into the past, James Webb discovered gigantic galaxies that already existed 200 to 400 million years after the Big Bang. This contradicted previous theories about the origin of the universe. At that time, only some first-generation star systems were supposed to exist. The concept of the Big Bang, which had been considered almost indisputable for about 100 years, was never backed by concrete observations. The theory of the Big Bang dates back to the work of astronomer and former priest Georges Lemaitre. In 1927, he concluded that the universe originated from a single point. According to Lemaitre's idea, the universe evolved for approximately 13.8 billion years, expanding to its current size after a single initial event. Observations of galaxy movements and the cosmic microwave background radiation seemed to confirm this view, and it appeared quite likely that the universe would continue to expand in the future. However, researcher Edwin Hubble, after whom the Hubble Space Telescope was named, dispelled doubts by discovering that other galaxies are moving away from us and that distant galaxies are moving faster than nearby ones. This led astronomers to the conclusion that the universe, as Lemaitre portrayed it, is still expanding because objects in space were moving apart in a certain way. This indicated that everything was closer together in the past. According to the Big Bang Theory, at the very beginning, the universe consisted of incredibly hot tiny particles mixed with light and energy. As these primordial particles spread out in space, the universe cooled, and then the tiny particles turned into atoms, which eventually formed stars and galaxies. Planets formed from the remnants of protoplanetary disks from which stars were born. Stars gathered into groups, merging and forming galaxies. Galaxies, in turn, grouped into galaxy clusters. Other objects also formed, such as asteroids, comets, and black holes. All of this took place over approximately 14 billion years, but now scientists must grapple with the fact that something is amiss with this theory. The evidence no longer supports it. While the general public is captivated by the beauty of the new photographs, scientists have encountered serious challenges based on the initial images. Some scientists have been attempting to argue that the blurred points of light in the pictures may not be galaxies at all, but rather supermassive black holes. However, this raises a problem as supermassive black holes should not exist at such distances and times. Some researchers who cannot reconcile themselves to the new facts are hoping for errors in the measurements of the age of the galaxies. Nevertheless, age dating has been confirmed over time using the most powerful telescopes distributed worldwide. However, the problems in science go even further because what appears to be the expansion of the universe could be a strange optical illusion. The fact is that objects in space, such as galaxies, do not appear to shrink as their distance from us increases. In reality, beyond a certain point, they should appear larger as their brightness decreases. If that's the case, the images of galaxies taken by the new telescope show signs of not expanding, which is already a problem. Another sign that all theories about the origin of the cosmos were erroneous is the high density and level of orderliness in the recently discovered very old galaxies. The first galaxies, formed through the collisions of smaller galaxies, should show signs of these collisions. On the contrary, the James Webb telescope reveals galaxies in the form of incredibly smooth disks and in pristine spiral patterns. The data obtained show that during the period previously mistaken for the cosmic dawn, smooth spiral galaxies were approximately 10 times more abundant than predicted by the theory. Another problem arises from the fact that according to previous theories, galaxies cannot grow to the sizes these galaxies have without collisions. But how else can these completely and very old galaxies be explained? Now, scientists must adopt a wait-and-see approach and consider the possibility that the universe is much older than previously believed. Now, you might be wondering how scientists can extract all this information from these blurry dots of light. It's a fair question, but it's also easy to answer. The James Webb telescope uses a set of filters to capture images in the infrared part of the spectrum. This allows astronomers to determine the colors of distant galaxies. Based on their color frequencies, astronomers can estimate the age of stars in these galaxies. Cooler stars appear yellow or red, while blazing hot stars appear blue. Distant objects in deep field images appear red, while closer ones appear white or bluish. From this tiny piece of light, the telescope's filters can isolate specific frequency and wavelength patterns to determine details like size, brightness, and star density. This image was created through extended observations of a quadrant in space that contains very few bright foreground objects. Thanks to this, the light rays from galaxies in the background become visible. So, this image shows only a small part of the universe and was taken in a specific direction. Hubble has made similar images before, but at the time, the sharpness and interpretability were not nearly as good as they are now with the new telescope. In the future, there will likely be more such images to explore the time 13.5 billion years and more ago from a different perspective. At this moment, we don't know when that will happen. Researchers will likely try to look even further back in time to gain confidence in this new situation. Normally, where these perfect galaxies have now appeared, there should have been nothing special. Further back in time, the universe should have become darker and darker if a Big Bang occurred, as there likely wouldn't have been light in the first millions of years in space. In places where light isn't emitted, we can expect to find, with the help of the best telescopes, nothing. James Webb's range was specified with an accuracy of no less than 13.5 billion years. It is believed that the Big Bang happened 13.8 billion years ago. Scientists will strive to remove all radio interference from the telescope and look as far as possible. If new galaxies continue to appear that already existed, were rich in stars, you can be sure there was no Big Bang. We will keep you informed of any developments.